Welcome to The Productive Entrepreneur, where experts offer their proven tips for working smarter and accomplishing more in less time. Today's guest is Eric Twiggs. Eric is an expert in overcoming procrastination and the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. As a certified life and business coach, Eric has conducted over 28,000 coaching sessions, helping executive leaders and entrepreneurs who have moved from feeling frustrated to finding fulfillment. Hey, Eric, so glad to have you.
Hey, Veronica, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
Tell me your theory on productivity.
Well, I think the key to productivity is getting the right things done. I think a lot of people confuse business with busyness. And a lot of times we're doing a lot of different things, but they aren't necessarily those things that will move us forward. So it's all about doing those right things that are going to get you the results that you want.
And how do you determine what the right things are?
Those are those things that line up with your goals. I think you always have to be clear. I always say that clarity is the starting point of success. So you have to be clear. You have to treat your goals like, or the things you do, like a triage department. Like if you go to the emergency room, there's a triage nurse, and she doesn't take you first come, first serve. You know, if I've got a tummy ache and I came in first, but someone else comes in and they have a gunshot wound or a serious injury, they're going to take them first. So that's how we have to do our tasks. We have to, what's the biggest priority? What are those 20% of our actions get us 80% of our outcomes? So we need to figure out what are those 20% activities that we need to really be focused on.
That's a good way of thinking about things. Is that in your book? Tell us about your book.
My book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. And in the book, it's the big theme that goes throughout the book is awareness and becoming aware of those things that are distracting you. So there's one of my favorite chapters. I'm often asked, Eric, what's your favorite part of the book? Do you have a section that you like more than others? One of my favorite sections of the book is in chapter 6, where I talk about saying no. And I think that is so critical. I think the highly successful people that have that discipline of now, they are able to, they make no their default answer until they have more information. So when they're offered these different opportunities, see, here's the challenge. When you start to get to the next level of success, you start getting more opportunities that come your way. So the key is really being able to say no, like we said earlier, being clear on what it is that you're going after, what your goals are, and then moving forward.
What brought you to write the book?
Well, so I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs and executives. I've had over 28,000 coaching sessions. And here's what I noticed. You can have two people. You can have one person that gets good results. You can have another person that gets great results. And here's what I found. This is interesting, Veronica. They know a lot of the same things. They tend to have a similar know-how level. But what I found is that the difference between the good and the great is that the great, they have this uncanny ability to be able to get themselves to do the things they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. And so I wanted to put this tool, a usable tool in people's hands to help them to go from good to great, because I see what procrastination really costs people. I want them to really get to that next level.
That's good. What do you use for productivity? What types of apps or software?
So one of the favorite apps that I use, it's a habit tracking app. And this, I'm telling you, this has been a game changer for me. It's called coach.me. And it allows you to make a priority of those critical habits that you want to do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. And every time you complete the task, for that deck. For example, for me, it was writing out my goals for the next day, the previous day. I wanted to make sure I stuck with that habit. So I use this app. So every time I do it, I check it off. I get like a little green dot. And so now I'm motivated because every day I want to make sure I'm keeping
There's
those
a green dot. Right.
And then what's cool about it is after a certain amount of time, it gives you an update about how many consecutive days you've maintained the habit. And that's something that's really kept me motivated, and I've turned it on to my audiences and my clients as well.
That's cool. Any others?
So there's another app, it's called Rescue Time. And this is interesting because it allows you to track how much time you're spending on social media or on like Facebook. And it'll give you little graphs on your phone that you can keep up with. And you can see that, oh man, I'm spending 3 hours a day on Facebook. You can even set up filters and parameters where it can block your internet access after a certain amount of time.
Oh, that's good.
So it forces you to get off. So that's a good one. And there's another really cool thing. It's called stickk.com. This is a site where you can make your goals public, and you can actually donate money to specific charities, or you could even donate to like the opposing political party. Like if you say, okay, I'm gonna work out 5 days a week. If I don't work out this 5 days a week, then I'm going to donate X dollars to the opposing party. And
that's a good incentive maker.
Exactly. And that can give you some motivation. So there's a lot of different tools that are out there to help you to stay more productive and to overcome procrastination.
That's good. What do you do about your email? Do you keep it at 0?
I don't keep it at 0, but I keep it manageable. And I set up various filters, because email is just one of those things that just can frustrate you, and you can take up a lot of your time. I typically advise people not to make that the first thing they do when they wake up, is check their email, but really focus on your priorities. So what I do is I set up filters, and most of the like if you have Outlook or Yahoo, or no matter who you use, they have ways you can set up filters. So certain emails just automatically go to the specific folders that you set up. So one of the things I'll do is if I'm CC'd on something, I have a special CC folder. So that's just one less email I have to process. So if people are CCing me on things, that means it's not something I necessarily have to look at right away. And it automatically goes to that folder, and I can go back to it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then I try to coach people not to be one of these, and I speak to different organizations, and it's an office atmosphere, and they have group email, and the big frustration everybody communicates to me is you have people that they reply all to everything. So you have this chain of reply all. Please don't do that.
It's horrible.
Yes.
So what about your stuff that you've stuck in folders? How do you get back to it? Do you block out time for that?
Well, I think it depends on what it is. I'm really trying to get into the habit. I teach people to really have, you use the 3 Ds when something comes across your desk. You either do it, you delegate it, or delete it. So the goal is that you have, a lot of the things, you think about it, the things we have in our folders, a lot of times don't really belong there, but we don't really know what to do with it. So we just kind of store it away for a later time. So I try to, if it's something that I try to make sure everything in my folder is something that I really have to do. And I've also been focused on trying to stay in what's called my zone of genius, and kind of do those things that are going to really advance me forward, like writing projects and speaking and things of that nature. And other things I'm looking to just delegate out and outsource, so I don't really have to touch. So the goal is I don't really have a huge folder of things. That's kind of what I'm working towards. And that's what I teach my audiences.
Along that line, do you plan out your quarter or year?
So what I do is I'll set annual goals, and I try to get as specific as possible. and I try to focus on what I want as opposed to what I don't want. I think you have to be clear on that. A lot of people, like, for example, you say you want to lose weight. You don't want the weight. So you want to focus on the positive things. So I focus on the positive, specific things. So I'll make an annual goals list, but then I'll work it backwards. And I'll set 90-day goals that relate back to my annual goals. And so one of the things when I'm setting goals, because I work with people that struggle with what goals to set and have a hard time knowing, I tell them to kind of fast forward to the future. So let's say it's January of 2020, and you're saying, man, this has been the best year I've ever had in my business. What are those 3 to 5 things that need to happen for you to feel that way? Okay, well, I've paid down this line of credit. I've got this account. So now you're getting clear on your goals. And then from there, starting 90 days out. So one of the reasons that New Year's resolutions fail, or even goals that you set for the new year fail, is because you number one, they aren't accessible to you. You stop looking at them. You don't have them in a visible place. And number two, it's so far out. And that's why 90 days is a good window to really stay focused, but it's a long enough time frame for you to see traction.
So you're essentially reevaluating quarterly.
Yes.
The smaller goals. And what are you mentioned keeping them in front of you. What do you recommend for that?
Well, I would recommend having, there's virtual like vision boards that you can download. That's another app. And that way you can actually make that your screensaver on your smartphone. And that way you always have so that way when you always have your phone with you, and that's something that you can always be looking at. I mean, another thing is just having your goals. You can have, I do the bathroom mirror technique where I take sticky notes and I write down specific things that I want. So it's like every day I'm forced to look at it, and and it helps me to focus.
Do you use to-do lists?
I do. Yes. So I make a list, and I make the list the day before for the following day. And I would really, especially if you're doing creative projects, it helps because that helps to declutter your head. And really you'll find if you do that consistently that the other ideas start to come to you because you're not sitting around thinking about what you have to do for the day. So I do the to-do list, and I do what's called the Twiggs top 5, where I prioritize those 5 things, like we mentioned earlier, like at the triage center, those things that are going to move me forward and really connect to my bigger goals. And so each day, it's okay if I don't get everything on my list done, but I definitely want to make sure I'm getting those 5 things done.
So tell me about some of the things you speak about in your book, like perfectionism.
So perfectionism is a huge issue because a lot of times it keeps people from moving forward. And for example, I'll be transparent, right? People say, oh, Eric, you've never had issues with procrastination. You've wrote the book on procrastination. But what I tell people is that it took me 6 years to write a book about overcoming procrastination.
That's
Why?
pretty good.
Why? Here's the reason. This thing called perfectionism. I felt like I needed to have everything figured out before I could move forward. So I got in this thing where I was trying to write and trying to edit it. It had to be perfect. But here's a big takeaway. And here's something I talk about with my audiences all the time, is that you can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
That's good.
I mean, that's a big key. That's this whole perfectionism thing, figuring I have to, and it keeps people from delegating. And I struggled with that at times. I'm like, hey, nobody can do it like Eric. So why am I going to hand this off? Because it's not going to be perfect if I give it to somebody else to do. But go ahead.
Do you use a VA or anything like that with your?
So what I do is I outsource different projects. Like I don't have a full-time person that I work with yet, but I use sites like Upworks and Elance, and you can get virtual assistants. So if there's a project you're working on, they can help you with different aspects of the project. And I tell you what, when I started doing that, it really made a difference, and it really freed me up to focus on, again, the core things that I need to be focused on. I mean, things like sending out notes and cards and things of that nature. I mean, those are things that you can really outsource, and it kind of frees you up to be focused.
That's good. I've not thought about that. I always have to do it myself.
Okay, Veronica, that's gotta delegate.
It's hard to give it away.
I know.
Okay, so tell me one thing you've purchased in the last, say, 6 months or a year that has improved your business.
One thing that I've purchased in the last 6 months, I mean, I'm always reading books. I'm always, there's, for example, The Millionaire Success Habits. That's the latest book I've purchased. It's a guy by the name of Dean Graziani. And that's something I'm just an avid reader, and I'm always looking different. I'm always trying to get better, and just sometimes those different ideas and different insights help me to move forward. And so I would certainly recommend you have to invest in yourself, and you have to constantly be looking at ways to get better and take in new information.
And is everything that you do digital, or do you have a calendar or journal or anything specific like that?
So my calendars are on my phone, where I set reminders and things of that nature. The habit tracking app gives me reminders. The only thing one thing I do that's on paper is my to-do list. Like some people do the to-do list electronically. For whatever is a strange thing, that doesn't work for me. I have to write out my to-do list, and I get this adrenaline rush when I can check off my to-dos. So sometimes, Veronica, I have to confess, I'll do things that aren't on my to-do list, and I'll write them down so I can check them off.
You're not the first person who has told me that.
But no, you get, it's like the same feel, like after it's like a natural high you get.
Right.
You check off, these items. That's why I encourage people to work off of lists.
What is coming up for you in the next year?
Just trying to take things to the next level. Just getting the message out there. I'm just talking to more and more audiences about the things that cause us to procrastinate. And I don't want people to think that, if you buy my book or you attend one of my sessions, you're in a bad group, because procrastination impacts everybody. And it's really about becoming more productive. So it's really about doing more and becoming more and getting more. So my focus for this coming year is just getting the message out there and speaking to more groups. And I do plan to work with more college students, by the way. I mean, my primary focus is entrepreneurs and executives, but I wish there was I wish there was an Eric Twiggs to talk to me back when I was in college. Because I've been thinking about it, they really don't teach time. When I was coming through school, they didn't really teach time management and productivity.
Nope.
And I procrastinated quite a bit. I talk about it in the book. And so I do have this renewed passion for the college level. So I think this year you'll see me doing more presentations on college campuses to help them get to that next level.
That's great. They need it.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to add about productivity or to help our audience?
Yeah, so one of the big things in the book, I have the procrastination prevention pyramid, and it's different. It's a specific model to help you to overcome procrastination. And one of the things, the foundation of the pyramid is your attitude and really your thoughts, and making sure you're focused in your thinking and really focus on how you talk to yourself. Like I talk to people all the time, and they say, Eric, I am always late. Eric, I always procrastinate. I am such a procrastinator. you really have to be careful, because you tip. If you say that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We tend to act out in accordance to who we believe we are. So say things. So when you say I am, that's an identity statement. So whatever comes after it, make sure it's something that you want to identify with. So I am getting better. I am improving. I am making progress. I am becoming more productive. I am becoming the person that I was destined to be. That's something I really want to stress to the viewers, is really focus on your attitude. Focus on the words you use when you're talking about time management, productivity, procrastination, because that can really help you or hinder you depending on how you use them.
I completely agree. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Thank you for having me. And if anyone wants to get access to my book, they can visit my site. It's thedisciplineofnow.com, and they can get access to the book. It's also available in audio format.